What does it actually take to make a woman feel drawn to you, even when she seems completely indifferent at the start? There is a moment most men know well. You are talking to someone who genuinely impresses you, but the spark feels entirely one-sided. You pour in kindness, you give her your time and your focus, and somehow, the more you offer, the further she seems to drift. What almost nobody figures out on their own is that the problem usually is not what you are doing, it is the order in which you are doing it. Attraction does not follow a logical sequence, it follows an emotional one. What we are going to walk through today are 7 psychological triggers that actually generate desire, and the last one carries a kind of power that most people completely underestimate. But before any of that, something important needs to be said. If this has never worked for you before, that is not a reflection of your worth. Nobody sat you down and walked you through this. It was never part of any education. The truth is that female attraction operates on an emotional frequency, not a rational one. While you were building a case for yourself using words and logic, something deeper in her mind was scanning for entirely different signals, ones you never knew existed. Evolutionary psychology research confirms that attraction is largely driven by mental shortcuts, patterns wired deep into the brain that activate automatically. Once you understand what those patterns respond to, everything changes. You stop pursuing. You stop performing. You simply become someone worth pursuing. The first trigger is masculine presence, and this has nothing to do with how you look or how physically imposing you are. It is entirely about energy. When you walk into a room, does your body language suggest someone who belongs there or someone hoping not to be noticed? Women register this within seconds. A man who moves without urgency, who does not scan faces looking for validation, who simply occupies his space with calm and ease, that man broadcasts value without opening his mouth. That quality is uncommon, and uncommon things attract attention. Picture yourself at a social gathering. Instead of monitoring how people are reacting to you, you simply settle in. Your posture opens up, your breathing steadies, you observe the room without any anxiety underneath it. That one internal shift rewires how you are perceived. Something in her picks up on it, not because you tried harder, but because you became more anchored in yourself. The second trigger is emotional challenge. The instinct most men follow is to agree, to smooth things over, to avoid anything that might create friction. But low-level tension is not a problem in attraction. It is actually the engine of it. When you push back gently or introduce a bit of playful teasing, you create polarity. And polarity is what generates magnetic pull. Say she tells you she is an early riser. Rather than nodding along, you grin and say something like, "Honestly, you have more of a hit the snooze button energy to me." It is not harsh. It is not dismissive. It is engaging. It signals that you have your own perspective and you are not afraid to express it. That contrast is what lights something up. Constant agreement flattens the energy between two people. A little contrast keeps it alive. If any of this is landing for you, share it with someone who could use it. These are things most people never get taught. The third trigger is selective attention. This is the one where a lot of men quietly sabotage themselves. They respond instantly to everything. They rearrange their schedule at the first opportunity. They make themselves completely and endlessly available. To the emotional brain, that pattern reads as low value. A man with a full and purposeful life simply cannot be on call at all times. When you have goals you are working toward, friendships that matter to you, hobbies that genuinely absorb you, your time starts to carry weight. You stop revolving around her world, and that absence of desperation makes her curious. She is drawn toward someone who has somewhere to be, not someone waiting to be needed. This is not about playing games. It is about actually having a life worth living. The fourth trigger is intentional listening. Not the kind where you nod and wait for your turn to speak, but the kind where you actually retain what someone shares and bring it back later. When you reference something she mentioned in passing days after the conversation happened, you become someone who genuinely sees her. That experience of being seen is rare, and it accelerates emotional connection far more reliably than any compliment could. She says something offhand about loving orchids. A few days later, you send her a photo of one you walked past and tell her it made you think of her. That gesture is small, its effect is not. Attentiveness paired with genuine strength is one of the most quietly powerful combinations a man can offer. The fifth trigger is calibrated vulnerability. Many men believe that showing any crack in the surface will cost them respect. But women do not bond with men who seem flawless. They bond with men who are real. When you can share something honest about yourself, a struggle you have navigated, something that genuinely challenged you, and you do it without collapsing into self-pity or victimhood, you become someone she can actually trust. Vulnerability that is delivered from a grounded place does not weaken attraction. It deepens it. Comfort with your own imperfections is a form of confidence, and confidence is the foundation everything else is built on. The sixth trigger is gradual physical touch. Research consistently shows that light, considered touch releases oxytocin, the hormone most directly tied to bonding and warmth. A brief contact on the arm when something genuinely funny happens, a casual brush of the shoulder as you walk side by side, nothing calculated, nothing that feels like a move. These small moments of physical closeness begin to create an association in her mind between your presence and a feeling of ease and comfort. That association compounds quietly over time. And now, the final trigger, the one that tends to change things most dramatically, controlled unpredictability. The brain is wired to chase dopamine, and dopamine is released most powerfully in response to rewarding uncertainty. When you are slightly unpredictable, you become genuinely fascinating to think about. This is not about being erratic or unreliable. It is about maintaining range. Sometimes you bring warmth and closeness. Sometimes you create a little space and let her come to you. Sometimes you initiate. Sometimes you hold back. You stay layered, you stay interesting, and that mystery keeps you in her thoughts long after the conversation ends. These are not manipulation tactics. They are a deeper understanding of how human attraction actually functions. Use them with awareness. Use them with respect. You do not need to be perfect. You need to understand the pattern, and now you do.